Welcome back to Zach's in the Shop. This is the shop right here. I'm Zach. That's how the name came to be. It's pretty self-explanatory. In this video, I'm testing some saws that I've been looking forward to testing for quite a while. Got the Hyper Tough brushed saw. Predicted to be an Ultimo beast in this video. We'll see how it pans out. You'll see in just a second. It's not behind me on the shelf here. You'll see why in just a second. Got the Hyper Tough brushless saw, the brand new model. Just bought the kit. I have the Skil 6.5-inch brushless saw and the Hart brushed saw. So two of them are brushless, two of them are brushed. We're going to see how they stack up against each other. We're going to try them with 2 amp hour and 4 amp hour batteries. And may the best saw win. Will it be the Hyper Tough brush saw? I don't want to give anything away, but just trust your instincts on that. We're going to test the RPM of each one of our saws. We're going to start with our Hyper Tough brushless with a 2 amp hour battery. Now the 4 amp hour battery. Next up we have our Skil with a 2 amp hour battery. And now for our 4 amp hour battery. Now we have the vintage Hyper Tough with a 2 amp hour battery. And now the 4 amp hour battery. And last but not least, we have the Hart with a 2 amp hour battery. And the 4 amp hour battery. I want to check and see how all the electric brakes are on this saw, see how quick they are. One of the things about a cheap saw is sometimes they have a really slow wind down, so it's really difficult to get work done in a rapid pace because the saw is kind of slowing you down because you're waiting for it to wind down before you can set it down or something like that. So let's check and see each one of these using a 2 amp hour battery. I'm going to show you each saw individually, and then we'll put them all together on the screen and you can see how they compare. This is the brushed Hyper Tough. I'm going to give it a couple seconds to rev all the way up, and then I'll see how quick that brake is. It's actually a really fast brake on this brushed Hyper Tough saw. Who would have thought? All right, we have our Hyper Tough brushless 2 amp hour battery. Let's see how good it is here. Feels a little bit slower. Yeah, it's a little bit slower, I think. So we'll see in the comparison how much slower. Just as a little note here, the fact that they went from Hyper Tough stickers on these tools to an actual mold that's painted right there, I think is a really, really cool thing. It just makes it seem a little bit less cheap, and I like that. Here's our Hart. We have a 2 amp hour battery. It's definitely the slowest so far. We got to do our oddball Skil now with the opposite blade. I got to turn around the other way and do Skil. I love their saws though. They're really great. 2 amp hour battery. Let's check and see the brake on this bad boy. Quicker than the Hart. Seems like it's about the same as the Hyper Tough brushless. Now I'm going to put them all together on the screen and we'll get the official 1st through 4th place. So the most fun and most important test is cutting the 2x4s. We're going to take 2x4s that are measured 12 inches long. I'm going to put everything in my rig, and we're going to use 5 pounds on my rig, basically a 5-pound weight that pulls the saw through the 2x4s. We're going to see which one of these saws can cut the fastest. I do want to say though, the saw blades that you see on these saws are the ones that they came with. I didn't go out and buy Diablo blades or spider blades or Blade Trinity. I didn't buy any of that stuff because whatever blade they send with it is the one we need to test. Now you can go out and buy some blades and it might even it up a little bit or separate them a little bit. It's not going to make a huge difference, and it's not going to make any difference to somebody who just buys a saw from the store, because they're not going to go out and buy a whole bunch of different blades, especially if you bought the Hyper Tough brush saw. The Diablo blade will cost probably 20% of the whole saw's cost, so you're probably going to use the Hyper Tough blade. This is the Hart brush saw. We have 5 pounds of weight on it, the 2 amp hour battery. The 2 amp hour battery is fully charged. This is cut number 2. We have 3 out of 4 on the Hart 2 amp hour battery. We have a 4 amp hour battery, fully charged. This is the older model Hart battery. There is a newer model 4 amp hour. I just don't have one of those. And since it's just a comparison saw, I really couldn't justify going out to buy a brand new battery for that. But in the future, I hope to test the newer Hart batteries as well, including the 6 amp hour. The 4 amp hour Hart battery is showing 3 out of 4. This is the Hyper Tough brushed version. We have the 2 amp hour battery. This battery is fully charged. First cut across the 2x4. That is the complete Hyper Tough with 2 amp hour battery. We have our 4 amp hour battery now fully charged. And that is all. Still seems to be almost fully charged. This fourth light isn't quite as bright, but I don't know if that means anything or not. I don't know if I don't know. It's probably about 90%. We have our Skil saw, 2 amp hour battery, fully charged. Skil did a good job. Now we have the 4 amp hour battery to go with the Skil saw. That battery is fully charged. the Skil battery is still fully charged. We have our Hyper Tough Brushless. Finally our brushless. Let's see how good this sucker is, if it's good at all. Gonna start it with a 2 amp hour battery because that's what it comes with. I would never use a 2 amp hour battery with a circular saw or a reciprocating saw. Just in my experience, they don't offer enough power and runtime for any real work of substance. This one, however, is being used and it is fully charged. Well, it made it through all of them. Now I'm a little surprised at that because it seems like it just wants to die as soon as it starts. It's like, this is too hard. I feel like the saw is doing that. Oh, stop, it's too hard, quit it. Anemic as it is, it's still fully charged though. Ah, the right battery. Maybe. We're gonna find out. This is the Hyper Tough Brushless with the 4 amp hour battery. It's fully charged, or as charged as charged can be. We're gonna let it rip, potato chip. And that's it. We're still fully charged with our Hyper Tough 4 amp hour battery. I'll be really curious how this all pans out with all these different saws. I hope we learned something here today. I know I did learn something. 1883 is a great show. I've been watching it the whole time while we've been doing this. All right, guys and gals, I have this 3x12 pine slab. It's about 4 foot long, and I'm going to do some full depth cuts with these saws, only using their largest battery. We're going to get their full potential out of this, and we're going to see how well they do. Can they make a full depth cut all the way across? I bet some of them can't, and maybe I'll bring the depth up slightly to see how much it takes for them to get all the way across, or will they just kill the battery? We're going to start off with our Hart saw, see how well it can do a full depth cut. After we make these cuts, we can see how deep the cuts were, so we can get the actual full depth reading for each saw. And I just want to start with the 4 amp hour battery and hopefully finish with it. 4 out of 4 bars. Let's give it a try with TTI's best brand. Oh, caught a little bit on the end, but it made it. That was my fault. Anytime you see me using a tool, never use it that way or you'll lose all your fingers. But it made it. I have my Hyper Tough brush saw now, beast that it is. Got a 4 amp hour battery right here. We're gonna chuck it on there. To adjust this one, you have to pull this lever like this. And of course it goes down. We're gonna bring it up as high as it can possibly go. And it's that's kind of strange to me how it kind of bends through there. But I mean, it's obsolete now, so who cares? We're gonna see if the Hyper Tough can do as good as the Hart. Here is my official guess. No. made it. Clogged up a little dust collection there, but it made it. Surprised? Oh no. She's dead, Jim. The Hyper Tough is dead. Oh no. Well, at least it's burned up a little bit. Oh, it still works. Just needs to cool down a little bit. It's in overheat mode. Okay, hopefully we don't lose the Hyper Tough brushless too, because that one wasn't on clearance. 4 amp hour battery. The brushless tools typically have more safeties in them, so they will not overheat. They'll cut out before they do that. Old brush tools tend to not have as many safeties, not have as good of batteries, and they would smoke up, but they would still be usable. But that one outside my door right now really stinks, and I don't know if it's ever going to come back in here. It smells bad, like real bad. Like maybe I should evacuate. We have our cheapy little lever right here. There it is. And it is a cheapie. Tighten that up. Full depth, Hyper Tough brushless. Oh yeah, that was much better than the brushed version. Much better, much better. Oh yes. Now we have our brushless Skil, who is just a fine saw, I think. It's a fine saw. And it has another lever right here. We're gonna make it as close up as possible. Pinch it down. We have our 4 amp hour battery. Let's see how this one does. I pushed it a little bit too hard, but it was really strolling. I thought it was going to make it. That's a pretty good little saw right there. It was eating through that pretty good. And like I was explaining a minute ago, this is a brushless saw. So it has some protections against overload. Like you see it cut out right around here and right there at the end. So I was pushing it pretty hard, but instead of being a smoke show like our Hyper Tough, it will live on and cut many more boards. Just another advantage of having a little bit higher tech stuff, for better or for worse. That is a nice feature of it. Here is our 4 different cuts, and it looks like they are almost lined up and according to depth. The Skil looks like it has much more significant depth than the others. The Hyper Tough brushless, a little bit shallower, and then looks like the Hart would be next, and then Old Smoky here, which is irrelevant on account that he's a smoke show. It looks like the Skil brushless is right at 2.5 inches depth of cut. Looks like the Hyper Tough brushless is right at 2 1/4 inches depth. Looks like the brushed Hyper Tough is right at 2 1/8. We'll call the Hart right around the same there at 2 1/8. So the Skil much deeper, 2.5, faster, deeper, shinier, doesn't smell burnt. Skil's looking good. I'm going to put each one of these saws on a 45. We're going to get a quick depth of cut at 45 degrees. This does not include any saws that are on fire or have burned in the last hour. Just so we're all well informed, it looks like the Hyper Tough bevels to about 45 degrees. The Skil brushless goes all the way up to 50 degrees. And the lowly Hart goes all the way up to 56 degrees. Here's our 3 45-degree cuts. Looks like the Skil gets to about 1 5/8. Looks like the Hyper Tough is right around 1 11/16. It looks like the Hart's at 1.5. So Hyper Tough actually has the best depth of cut at 45. Here's our saws that aren't on fire and they're turned up so you can see the plate on the bottom, just to see what size plate it has, just for reference, because the larger the plate, the more stable it is. Maybe you want a narrower saw. Just whatever. Get all the information is what I say. Zach Information's my name. So we have a 5.5 by 10 3/4, 5 1/8 or so, and just under 10, 9 7/8. And then we have 9 7/8, 5 1/8. Maybe these are very similar size plates. They're not shaped the exact same, but these two are basically the same size. Skil's a little bit larger. Just while we have them here, overall, I think the Skil has the best quality of build, the best lever for adjusting the height or depth of cut, because the Hyper Tough has this guy right here, and he sucks. And the Hart has this little guy on the back, and he's not great. But you can see that depth of cut pretty good there. The Hyper Tough is such that it's really hard to see the depth whenever you're cutting and adjusting. So it's all black. The little metal part is black where you make the adjustment. So it's a little difficult to see on the Hyper Tough. The Skil, you can kind of see it through the handle there. A little bit easier to see. Not as easy as the Hart, but definitely easier than the Hyper Tough brushless. The Skil is a little bit different than the other two. As you can see, if you're standing behind the Skil, the blade is on the right. And for the Hyper Tough, as you can see, the blade is on the left. Same way with the Hart, the blade is on the left. And with the other brushed Hyper Tough, it is also on the left. The weight of our Hyper Tough brushless saw is 4.5 pounds. If we add the 4-amp-hour battery, then we are at 6 pounds even. We're not going to measure the Hyper Tough brush saw because you don't measure things that are on fire. The Hart brush saw is a weighty 5.1 pounds. We add our 4-amp-hour battery, and we're at 6.5 pounds. So a chunker compared to the Hyper Tough brushless. The Skil 6.5 brushless is 6.2, 6.3 without the battery. Add the 4-amp-hour, and we are at 7.9, which means power costs weight. You want something that has power? It's going to be heavier. You guys have asked me to create like a summary at the end of the video to kind of explain which tool is best and kind of break things down. So that's what I did here. We have a sheet here. It's going to be for each type of tool that I test. This is 6.5-inch circular saws, of course. Our model numbers are Skil CR541301. The Hyper Tough is the 41007. And the Hart is the HPCS01VN. Didn't include the brushed Hyper Tough because it burned out and it's no longer made anyway, so it doesn't really matter. If we look at the first set of data, the weight of the tools, the Skil's the heaviest at 6.3, the Hyper Tough is very light at 4.5, and the Hart is 5.1. All those are pounds, and you see the scores next to them. So here's what I did. I'm just taking it as percentage. The best score is 100%, and the other scores are a percentage of the best score, and that's how many points you get. Keep it really, really simple. Almost all the categories are 100%, but for the price and for the RPM, I just cut those in half because I didn't want those to be as important as the performance categories. So Hyper Tough gets a 100, Hart gets an 88, Skil gets a 71 for weight. Going down to depth of cut at 90 degrees, the 100 goes to Skil because it got the deepest, then it's followed by Hyper Tough at 90, and then Hart at 85. For cutting the 12-inch 2x4s, the fastest was the Skil at 3 seconds on average. That's with their 4-amp-hour battery. Hyper Tough was actually fastest with the 2-amp-hour battery at 3.9 on average, and the Hart followed behind with the 4-amp-hour battery at 4.9. That gives the Skil 100, the Hyper Tough 77, and the Hart 61. Under the depth of cut at 45 degrees, the Hyper Tough gets 100 for 1 11/16, followed by a 96 for 1 5/8 for the Skil, and then 89 for 1 1/2 inches from the Hart. Under RPM, which we cut in half, as you can tell, 5306 was the Skil, gets 50 points. Hyper Tough 4370 gets 41. The Hart 3950 gets 37. Kit price $119 currently for the Skil. That's a score of 25. Hyper Tough is a low 60. That's why they get 50 points. And the Hart is at $99. It's not typically kitted, but when I do see a kit with a 4-amp-hour battery and charger, it's $99. That gives it 42 points. The HyperTough has 458 total points, followed by the Skil at 442, and then the Hart trails behind at 402. So looking at my list here, what do you guys think? Do you agree, disagree? Would you change how things are done? What do you think of the tools that were tested? What would you suggest me testing next? And the little screen here at the end of the video is going to show you a little clip of what might be coming up next. I hope you guys enjoy it. God bless every one of you, and I'll see you on the next one.